Dollar index continued its downtrend with the Fed's rate cut decision. Finally, we have seen that previous week dollar index created a new lower low in this long-term downtrend. Followed by Wednesday, we saw that came from Fed speech that rebound dollar to create a weekly high. Now, as we are starting another trading week coming up, NFP, which way dollar index potentially be heading. Now, if we look at the past data, we saw that all this data came, especially unemployment claims, well below the forecast, which has given pressure on dollar. In terms of inflation, that also we saw the GDP was higher. And as Fed's interest rate cut decision is still remaining for the next month as well, we saw that with this rebound on DXY as the decision remaining same, what I think that DXY this week could again continue to drop as there is a pressure on borrowing capacity increasing, which is ultimately putting pressure on dollar in terms of inflation is getting higher. So as from the technical perspective, we can see that dollar index has broken this series of lower high and lower low from the weekly. The market, what I think now could potentially get back to this again to the monthly support level. Now we are almost nearing to the end of the month, and after creating this new lower low, we can see the buyers took that chance to buy this market during this speech. And currently the market in a zone where if we look at the overall technical structure in the market, it is a long-term bear market. And what I think that if you guys look at daily chart, here we can see very clearly how the market has broken from the structure, especially a series of lower high in this downtrending market structure has completely broken with an inverted head and shoulder on the daily chart. The price is completely broken above this level. Now this break of structure, now as there is another interest rate cut decision coming later next month, what I think that dollar index could now have a higher chance to drop back below this neckline of this inverted head and shoulder. Now we see that there was a long-term continued series of lower high is broken. If we start from here, we can see that from the daily there was a continued series of lower high, and with this impulse back to the upside, the market has completely broken out of that structure, which could lead the market to drop back again to this neckline of this support level. Now if we look at the intraday time frame on dollar index, we can see that it left quite a few fair value gap which was not been tested. Now this is not looking a very healthy uptrending market structure on the 4-hour chart. If we look at here is the during the FOMC, we have seen there was a stronger breakout followed by quite a few times the bulls pushed the price up, but with the leaving the market left quite a few fair value gap. We have seen there wasn't enough pullback in this uptrending market, and the last day of trading week we saw rejection from the higher price, and here we can see the market was maintaining that series of lower high here with that movement back to the upside. The way in that area, we can see that from the intraday perspective here, guys, this is potentially for me it's a possibly bearish market structure. Now it could change if over the weekend there is very surprising decision come in terms of if Fed decide not to cut the rate, definitely there will be a bounce on DXY. But if the interest rate decision cut remain as it is, there is a higher chance for dollar index again to drop back even what I think that with the monthly close and later the price to come back to this zone, as there is an imbalance left in the market. This long wick candle that we can see, it's a pure imbalance in the market, and in that case we see this is also fair value gap. There's another one here, and also there is another one here, and so all this fair value gap could come back here to fill that zone before it potentially bounce up, or we could see that further continuation back below in this market. So this week my bias on dollar index could be downside, and also we can have further confirmation from the technical aspect with a stronger liquidity trigger. If the smart money is selling this dollar index, we could see that potentially further confirmation with liquidity trigger in that area. This could be the wave on dollar index for this upcoming week. Now if DXY remaining bearish, that means if DXY breaking from this high here, how does that impact on gold, or is gold remaining bullish here? Now past weeks we have quite a few trades that we have opened on gold, and most of them was successfully closed in profit. Some of them were open in our live session. One of the trade that I would like to really mention from here that we have opened was a massive bounce from that level. Now will you be able to see this kind of trade this week? What I think that as DXY potentially remaining bearish, either even if it is going bullish, then gold might start to drop here. So understanding the DXY movement also will help us to secure some of the trade that we are planning this week to open, as gold is remaining significantly bullish here this week. What I think we might be able to find some again trading opportunity, as gold has completed another wave of pullback here, and it might start another move up again or down. We will be doing the full multi-time frame analysis as NFP coming up. Let's see one by one to see what kind of trading opportunity we can find on British pound, US dollar, euro dollar, AUD USD, dollar CAD, GBP JPY, dollar yen, Nasdaq US30, and also we will be looking at BTC USD, how the market might be doing this week. Now, before I progress with the in detail analysis, traders, make sure give a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done yet, press the notification bell so that you are not missing any of the content that I am posting every single day. So that being said, let's begin with first of all British pound US dollar, looking at bigger picture to see overall direction in the market. Now monthly chart on GBPUSD, there are 2 days to go for this monthly candle close, and what we see that there is a doji being formed on the monthly. Now is this a bearish price action or bullish? Now still the candle is not closed on the monthly, even if it is closing as a doji here in that area, which is highly likely. But I think that GBPUSD the candle may close as a doji, as this is the monthly low, and from the historical perspective it's a bull market. So it is what I think less likely that this monthly close below here. Instead, what I think initially we could see some upside bias here in this market with the weakness on DXY. Now looking at the weekly chart on British pound US dollar, we can see that there was a weekly pin bar here, followed by another weekly candle which has tested this support here and crossed this low. Now because it's a long-term bull market, now if we look at this point here, this is a key level of support on the weekly and created this move upside here, followed by we can see from that level the market has penetrated back below and created a new lower low here in that area from the weekly on British pound US dollar. what we could see that in this market, the market to potentially bounce off that level and could potentially bounce back above. So what I think that the market could push that price back above in that area on GBPUSD. So if we look at the daily chart, we can see that the market on a key level of support. Now daily support is significantly important, and if we match it with the past information, we can see that this is where in the past this level acted here as support and also support here. This is also the neckline of this order block that you can see the market has made its move back to the upside, acted here as support and also support. Now this support that I will give higher weight on this one, as if we look at it has penetrated back below here, so it created a new lower low. That means it has got liquidity in that area. So as monthly close coming, what I think GBPUSD potentially to drop further here for a deeper pullback and potentially bounce off that level. That could be one potential scenario, depending on also the Fed's decision that we were discussing in the beginning of the analysis. Now, from the 4-hour chart on GBPUSD, if we look at the lower time frame price section here, we can see that there is multiple candlestick pattern formation with quite a few liquidity sweep in that area. So that's where the market potentially showing that there is a possibility to maintain a local uptrending market for this price to bounce off that level to create a new higher high on British pound US dollar. Now looking at euro dollar, what I think the market structure exactly the same as British pound US dollar, except if we look at the monthly, we can see there is a very interesting information here. If we compare with the GBPUSD monthly, we can see that GBPUSD couldn't create a monthly higher high, while euro dollar has created a higher high, just the mirror of DXY. And in terms of trend, we see that euro dollar showing higher momentum in terms of bullish trend than GBPUSD. So that being said, if we look at the weekly price on euro dollar, this is where the market has crossed back to back 2 weeks low. So it's a break of structure, cross the 10 EMA, and then we see the candle close with a long wick from the weekly. This could lead that this week's price potentially to push back up here with the monthly close. What I think from the daily, as this is the daily move that we can see on euro dollar, created this high followed by this pullback to that weekly and daily support here in that area, which is the daily key level of support. And if we look at the 4-hour here, where the market here also multiple liquidity trigger, there is a liquidity trigger bounce, another liquidity trigger bounce. So what I think that this week, if the market is maintaining similar kind of price action, especially getting rejected from this support along with the DXY, that we could see that euro dollar potentially to bounce off this level to create a new higher high, or even potentially move back to this key resistance line along with the drop on DXY. So this could be the wave, depending on, as I mentioned earlier, that the price action confirmation was required in the beginning of the trading week. Also will be able to more clear ideas on how the market structure potentially be creating here. Now looking at the AUD USD, also on the monthly, that you can see it's potentially forming a monthly doji. Now this monthly candle, if it is closing little lower or in that area, from the monthly perspective, we can see it's maintaining that uptrending market structure. Now if there is a monthly close on AUD USD as a doji, what kind of price action we could see that for the next month? What I think AUD USD, after initial pullback, we could see that further upside here for this week fill in that area. Now if we look at the weekly here on AUD USD, we can see that from the weekly there was weekly bounce back-to-back 2 weeks of drop. This is the weekly market where there's a long wick at the bottom, and expecting that AUD USD potentially to bounce off this level here to create a new higher high in this market. Now if we look at the daily chart here on AUD USD, what we can see, guys, here, this is the daily move, and there is also a key daily support level, which is, this is a support, and from here we have seen that move back to the upside on the daily. And last day of trading week, we saw there was a narrower, smaller candle. But I think that this week, as if you look at the calendar, we can see also some very important news coming on AUD, along with also the NFP. We'll see that there is a significant news coming up on AUD on Tuesday, 3 high impact news. So AUD USD could remain pretty volatile here. And from the daily, we see that there is a local downtrend in that area, a drop, pullback, another drop, and it's coming to this key level of support, though there is an imbalance here. But I think that AUD USD may initially drop down here to this support to grab liquidity, potentially to bounce off that level possible, along with the 4-hour price action here that you can see the market is in that area, local downtrend, and that could be the potential move on AUD USD for this upcoming week, along with the potential weakness. If we see the DXY is getting weaker, AUD USD could reflect it as a mirror to bounce off that level to the upside to create a new higher high. So let's see now how dollar CAD is creating that market structure. We see that with the weakness on dollar CAD has shown a stronger move than any other USD pairs. While if we look at the technical perspective on the monthly, dollar CAD from monthly candle closing with a bullish price action here, and approaching this monthly resistance line on dollar CAD, which if we look at the weekly here, we can see that from the weekly also the market is maintaining significant liquidity gap here, approaching this key level of resistance here on the weekly chart on dollar CAD, which might give that this market from the daily perspective here on dollar CAD. This is the move on the daily on dollar CAD. The price is approaching that key level of resistance where we could see the price to retest, and what I think that the market to drop again, as this is a very important key level, and you can see there was a significant drop here. And if dollar index getting weaker, we might see either significant bearish trend here or potentially sideways movement on dollar CAD. Now looking at gold, that we can see that gold was significantly bullish. We have seen quite a few stronger impulse back to the upside. Now looking at the bigger picture on the monthly on gold, we can see that this market is bullish. Now from the historical perspective on gold, this current monthly candle, if you guys look at in this whole move, this is the biggest move on the monthly and is still maintaining this uptrending market structure. As we see that there is a potential weakness on dollar index, we have seen continuously dollar was in a bearish, that is reflecting on gold to be bullish. We have seen that this month the market has created this all-time high and there is a stronger bullish movement, and this market potentially could remain bullish to the upside. As from the weekly time frame as well, we can see that bullish price action confirmation here. Now we see that this is the 6th week gold has shown bullish price action. Now the weekly close, if we look at this individual candlestick pattern, this how the past week has done, there is no long wick at the bottom, which is showing that weaker response from the seller, which is showing that gold potentially to be bullish here in that market. So this week, what I think that, as if you guys look at this maintaining that uptrend, what is going up is likely to go up. So we could see that gold is going back to the upside here to create a new higher high. Now, what kind of price action we can see on the daily? On gold, we can see that it is a typical uptrending market structure. Now, with the FOMC, we saw there was a break of structure to this daily 10 EMA. Along with also the price tested this key support level. This is a significantly key level, as there was bullish engulfer here. The price has dropped to that same level and created a higher low, which also another sign that there was a strong buying pressure in that area. That has propelled that price back to the upside with one single impulse to create this all-time high again, new high here, which is 3790 level. And the price is approaching 3,800, and I think this week may potentially remain here. Now, as we will see that new weekly opening coming here is series of higher low. So if we look at the intraday time frame, we can see there was a last session, there was a bearish candlestick pattern formation. And I think that this move here is a pullback and potentially a retest of this neckline that you can see on gold. And if we align this to significant trend line here on gold, that could be a very important zone that you can look for potential buying opportunity in this market. So which is, we can see that from the 1 hour chart here on gold, the market has created a significant impulse. Now the price is correcting back to this previous resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, and also which is turning support here. And that support is absolutely important on gold. They're expecting the market to drop here, grab the liquidity, and then potentially to trend back here to create a new higher high in this market. So this could be the potential wave on gold that we are waiting for the market to retest. And as soon as we see the price action confirmation, we can look for bullish opportunity. But at the same time, it is important that gold has tested this level properly, because there was a long consolidation. Now with the change in the sentiment on dollar index, gold is still could drop deeper here. As with this move, the market either what I think could test this support, or we could see that from that zone the market to reject back again to the upside. And depending on the price action, we want to see that to buy a stronger bullish price action confirmation. For a confirmation, the market may bounce off this level, or we could see that sideways movement in that area to range in between this support and resistance. So the bias here on gold this week is still bullish. Now looking at GBP JPY and dollar yen, we can see that dollar yen was in a bullish trend past week. As with the weekly impulse on dollar index, we can see that dollar yen as well, after the previous weekly pin bar, has created a bullish price action here. If you look at the monthly here on dollar index, we can see that from this monthly support level, the market has made its move back to the upside on the monthly, which is a stronger reaction from this monthly support level on dollar yen. As we are almost nearing to the end of the month, what I think that dollar yen may try to pull back here or move in a sideways on the lower time frame. Now we can see that from the weekly what kind of market structure. As with this weekly pin bar this week, the market has shown a bullish price action here, which is a bullish engulfer with 10 and 20 MA crossover from each other on dollar index. Here is in that area. So this is a key level of resistance the market is approaching, and I think this week the market may try to revert back again to the major direction of the trend. And also we can see that dollar index with the increasing dollar yen has reached that trend line, which is very important trend line with a one single move. And as the market has overextended back to the upside here, the potential for dollar yen to come back to this neckline is higher, as there is an inverted head and shoulder has formed in this market on dollar yen. Possibility for the market to retest that support is higher. So if we look at the intraday price action here from the 4 hour, we can see that dollar yen was maintaining the liquidity sweep for quite a few sessions with a bearish engulfer. Those kind of candlestick pattern is a sign of possible downside on dollar yen. And what I think that at least we can expect in the first wave of drop to this key support level to break this neckline, as this is a fair value gap as well as fair value gap along the way. And for me, it is high probability for a downward trend. And depending on if we see the dollar yen want to go back up again to the high, we could see a stronger rejection. Depending on price action, we can look for potential trading opportunity. But the bias here, we are on a short trade on dollar yen, and I would like to keep that holding until we see a very different price action later next week. So now let's see that what kind of price action Nasdaq as well as US30 is creating. Looking at the monthly chart on Nasdaq, we can see that this is nearly to the end of the month, and which is showing that bullish market structure on the monthly. With this impulse back to the upside on Nasdaq, the market is showing a stronger impulse back to the upside here. Now, if we look at the weekly price action on Nasdaq, we can see that after back-to-back 3 weeks of bullish move, past week it formed a doji, which is also still maintaining that series of higher low. Now, what I think this week the market may remain that uptrending market structure here in this market on Nasdaq. Now, looking at daily chart, we can see that from the daily perspective, Nasdaq has created a bullish price action here. Starting from here, an impulse correction. The market is maintaining this series of higher high and higher low, which is showing that Nasdaq may potentially remain bullish here to create a new higher high. So looking at the 4-hour chart here on Nasdaq, we can see that there is, if you guys look at it, you can see this is a long week rejection. So the buying pressure is higher here. If we look at that, liquidity swap is showing that potentially upside momentum here on Nasdaq. So this could, the market may remain this trend line intact, and any stronger rejection again in the upcoming week can be an opportunity to go long on Nasdaq. Now, looking at US30, we can see that from the bigger picture perspective on the monthly on US30, this is also showing that bull market. The previous month was a cross of dojis, created a bullish engulfing pattern here, followed by this month. So you can see the market has maintained that uptrending market structure. If we look at the weekly here, we can see also like the Nasdaq, the market is maintaining that series of higher low on the monthly, and past week was a long week doji, which what I think that this week may respect and could continue to rise up, as after this bullish move a doji can be a pullback, and then we could see the market is maintaining this uptrending market structure. Now, looking at daily chart on US30, we can see that from the daily, this is where the market was maintaining, respecting this daily 20 EMA, and we saw that in the past, whenever the market is dropping to the daily 20 EMA, there is an upside bias, followed by, we can see the previous week as well, the market tested the daily 20 EMA, rejected back above, and that could be that this week the market maintaining that level. We have seen long week rejection showing that US30 buyers are active in that market. That could be the potential wave here, maintaining a potentially inverted head and shoulder, and US30 to remain bullish in this area in this market. So what kind of price action BTC USD is showing, especially on the monthly? If we look at BTC USD, now BTC USD from the monthly created a bullish price action here. Now we are almost nearing to the end of the month, as this market already has tested that high here on BTC USD, and this is a support level here. We can see that from this support the market tested this lower part of this monthly price and form a rejection to the upside here. As the market is approaching this monthly support on BTC USD, what I think the price may test the level and could continue to rise back to the upside here to create a new higher high in this market. So this is a support level on BTC USD, which what I think that from the intraday perspective here, if you look at daily, and we can see there was initial bounce and the market is coming to this daily support level here. So this is where what I think BTC USD may try to bounce off that level, as below this level is a very high liquidity zone. There is a stronger rejection and the bigger picture trend here is bullish. What I think before the monthly close or after the monthly close, we might see that BTC USD remaining bullish to create a potentially new higher high in this market. So that being said, BTC USD is this week potentially could remain bullish